of Franz, and thank you guys for having me here today. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you about the State Central Committee and about County Central Committee. And I'm just going to assume that most of you are probably familiar with County and or State Central Committee. Is that showing?
You might want to explain it.
Feel free to
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and explain
Yeah.
it.
Well, I got my story with how I, came to be part of my own County Central Committee. About a year and a half ago, I didn't even know what a County Central Committee was. Through groups like this group and through individuals like John Morrow with Committee for a Better Ohio, I began to understand what a County Central Committee was. And then later I learned what the State Central Committee was in my research of trying to figure out why my County Central Committee wasn't functioning the way that it should be. So with the County Central Committee, I am a Miami County resident, so part of the Miami County Central Committee. I live in Tip City. And back during COVID, when things were a little bit crazy and I looked around me and I didn't understand why my representatives, both locally and at the state level, were allowing the governor to, and the executive branch, frankly, to exercise authority that was outside of their scope of what the executive branch is allowed to do. They were taking the power from the legislators and they were operating in a power that did not belong to them. With the mandates, with the, especially with the small businesses and the bureaucracies that they formed and then had with hounding them about masks and signage and things. And
They even had a curfew for a while, didn't they?
they had a curfew for the bars at 10 p.m. But meanwhile, this was not equally applied. There was no equal application. There was no due process of the law, because you look at Planned Parenthood during the height of the pandemic, which none of them were shut down. We had people from other states coming in to use Planned Parenthood there, and they weren't following, as far as I understand, weren't following any guidance, and we're not being asked to shut down, while small businesses and churches were asked to shut their doors. Other big box stores were also allowed to remain open. So there was, again, no equal application of the law, no due process for these business owners who were forcibly shut down. So I also volunteered for an organization called Ohio Stands Up. We did file the first federal lawsuit in Ohio. Unfortunately, nothing came of that, but we are now working with another attorney who is helping individuals like college students and healthcare providers who have been forced to take a experimental shot that they don't want to take in order to participate in society or in their job. My son was one of those students who had darn near a full ride scholarship to the University of Dayton. Now, while they weren't mandating the shot, it was highly coercive. There was texts all the time. There was constant lectures of, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to mask up to your eyeballs or you're not going to be able to be in class. So our family doesn't do that, because we don't do anything under the threat of you're not going to participate in society or coercion, and the science didn't support that either. And so he gave up that full ride scholarship, which was a huge sacrifice, but at the time it was a learning experience for our family, because we really were tested on our values, our beliefs, on our reliance upon God. This was the path that we had had for him since he was in high school. We had, this was where he was going to go. And but God has been faithful. He's going to be going to the University of Central Florida. He's looking at possibly doing an internship with NASA or another organization there. And so where, one, it looked like, oh my gosh, what a loss. God has opened up a door somewhere else and has provided. So that's amazing. During my time with Ohio Stands Up as well, I heard from a lot of individuals, healthcare workers, students, parents of students in both elementary and college level, who were absolutely beside themselves with the mandates, both masking and the shots, and also with the nursing care, or the nursing homes. I heard from loved ones who did not understand why they could not see their parent or their relative. They were being kept from them, and there's terrible stories which I won't burden you with today, but we can talk for an hour about the stories of the negligence and people dying alone without their loved ones who absolutely So, so I started to ask the Lord, being a Christian, that means that I filter everything through a biblical worldview. That means my life is not my own. I was bought with a price. I do what I'm told. So I asked the Lord, I see what's going on. What do you want me to do? So I first became, like I said, involved with Ohio Stands Up. That led me to see what I could do at the local level, which led me to County Central Committee. Now, I had friends that were in County Central Committee because I'm with Miami County Liberty, and they had been part of the County Central Committee for 7 years. And so they helped me to fill a vacancy in my precinct. They told me the process. My precinct happened to be open. There was no one there. And in my county, we have now 88 precincts. And in my township, which is Bethel, we have probably 4 or 5. So we have all of those filled now, except for one, which is good because we've got some great conservatives there now. But so I asked the chairman of the party. I was told that I need to contact him. How do I fill this precinct? He said, write a letter, tell us a bit about yourself, why you want to be part of the County Central Committee, and then have your friends vouch for you at the next meeting. Well, that was a year ago, I believe, in June, that was done. And they voted on me to fill the precinct, which was great. So then I was excited, and I was expecting to be taken by the hand and kind of shown the ropes, like this is what we're doing, like this is our bylaws, this is our plan of attack, this is when our next meeting is. Yeah. Well, a year passed. Yeah. We didn't have a meeting until July. Wow. This year. And they did have one scheduled for January, but it was canceled. And a Lincoln Day dinner, but it was canceled because they couldn't get enough interest because they had chosen Bob Paduchek, the chairman of the GOP, which I won't go into, but if you want people to come to your Lincoln Day dinner, that's not the guy that you want to invite as your guest speaker right now. And so that was canceled. And just the lack of vision, the lack of a plan, no meetings, no communication. As far as I know, we don't even have a website which lists all of our County Central Committee members. So we probably have just in the 50s out of 88 filled. Now we just got in, through the efforts of conservatives in our county, we were able to fill 9 more spots during that meeting we just had, which is great. But then at the meeting I said, hey, we need to have regular meetings. When are we meeting again? And it was like, well, you know, hem haul around. No real answer, no real drive, no passion. And so what I was finding out is that really it's just a handful of people. Most likely, I can't say without a shadow of a doubt, the executive committee, there's an executive committee that meets, that probably do the business for the party. And so then I said, well, what is the point of having a County Central Committee and filling all these vacancies? Well, then I did my research. I met John Morrow. He began to educate me on what a County Central Committee is supposed to look like, what it's supposed to do, and what we're not doing right now and should be doing. And we are not unique in Miami County. Many counties are in this position. County Central Committee members are going, what are we doing here? What's our role? And so what the role of a County Central Committee person is supposed to be is, you know, what the party will tell you it is door knocking, you know, volunteering at the polls, being involved in your precinct, and reaching out to those who are already part of the party and letting them know about candidates and such, inviting them maybe to Republican events, but, you know, passing out literature for candidates that you would like to run or that are running for office. But it's so much more than that. And it's also providing a resolution for the state Central Committee members, letting them know this is what we want from you at the state level. This is developing a county platform. And what I mean by that and what we don't have is something where you're recruiting those conservative candidates and you want to know where they stand on the issues. Well, you have a county platform that's written down that they would need to agree to before you would then support them or give them any party money. Well, we don't have that, so we have a lot of lip service going on. We have a lot of assuming, and we have a county party that just thinks that they are a marketing mechanism for the Republican Party, and as long as they've got somebody running with an R behind their name, they're good to go. It doesn't matter if that R is a moderate progressive, and they're not going to take a stand on any issues from either abortion, or whether that be men and women's sports or men and girls bathrooms. They're going to tell you they want to be inclusive and therefore all Republicans. So then I would ask, what does that mean? Because these are the things they're telling me. When I would suggest, let's take a stand on some of these issues and write it down so that we can recruit bold red conservatives, not moderates. We know exactly where they stand, because we're not pushing forward any conservative policies. I don't know if you've all noticed, but we've had the Republican majority for 12 years, and we have done a terrible job at getting conservative legislation passed. Yeah, it's appalling to me that something like the women's sports that act that Jenna Powell has put forward is just dead in the water. What's dead in the water because of the Senate and because of Governor Mike DeWine. So I have to ask these people, you know, maybe you're in the wrong party. Maybe it's not being inclusive, maybe you belong in another party. So this is what I'm talking about, having a clearly defined platform for the county. So when the county central committees get that, they can approach those candidates and say, do you agree to this? And then they can say, yes, I do, or no, I don't. And so if they do, we can support you. We can go door knocking for you. We can give you some money. But if you don't, then we're not interested, because you don't support our county platform, where the people of this county, this is what they want. This is who they're about. This is their belief system. And so, and then that goes for the state. So then moving on to the state, I found out, why is the county directionless? Why do we have no vision? Who's to blame? Where does the finger get pointed for this? Well, it does get pointed to the leadership of the GOP, but more so, it gets pointed to the state central committee members. That there's 2 of them for every Senate district in Ohio. Okay, so that means a man and a woman representative for a total of 66. So in District 5, it goes by Senate district. So in Senate District 5, we have a male and a female. That is Steve Bruns for District 5 is the male, and Mary Beth Kimmer is the female. And they represent all of Miami County, all of Preble, north and western part of Montgomery, a cutout of the northern part of Butler, and southern Dart. So it's a pretty big area. And
are they good or bad?
Well, that's a good question. So all I can tell you is that there's a lot of problems with the State Central Committee right now, because first of all, people don't know what the State Central Committee is. That's by design. Because people have a lot of power. So the way I explain it to people, if they only have 30 seconds for me to explain what is the State Central Committee, they're the board of directors for the state Republican Party, the Ohio Republican Party. And when you see them on the ballot, their name's usually on the bottom. There's usually only one name. Now, everybody above that has something to do with that person at the bottom. They have been a part of who you see on the ballot. They have a lot of power and influence in determining who ends up being endorsed by the party, who gets the party money at the state level. So we were asking both Mr. Bruns, Mrs. Kimmer, don't endorse before the primaries. Let the people decide. Well, Mr. Bruns, I've heard, actually did not vote to endorse. Mary Beth Kimmer did vote to endorse. But this leads me to another problem, which is secret voting. So they want to do everything secretly. These are elected officials, and their voting record should be just as transparently displayed as our legislators.
Amen.
We should absolutely know where they're taking the party,
Right.
and who they're endorsing, and which one of those members are endorsing and why. And so everything is done in the kind of back room, in the smoke-filled back room, and so there's also the other problem is that 15 or more of them are appointees, which is a huge conflict of interest. So we've got people there working for DeWine, working for Husted, or their relatives, or their wives, their daughters, their sons are being put in a position.
And they're on the central committee.
They're on the central committee.
Wow.
Now they'll argue with you that it's not a conflict of interest. Look you right in the face.
Nepotism.
Yes, and so I would argue, okay, if we're not going to get rid of appointees, then you guys need to recuse yourselves, because you obviously have a conflict of interest here. So the other problem is, it's not open to the public. It is, but it isn't, because they want to hold it in the middle of the week at 10 on a Tuesday when most people are working, when really it should be held in the evening or on the weekend, so that more people can attend and we can actually develop some passion for the party. So we do have people like Mark Makita, who really have done a phenomenal job. I mean, Mark, when he lost the Senate race, which he
He came and talked to us for a bit.
Oh,
We like
yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He put together the grassroots freedom initiative, used a lot of his own money to get data for reform candidates, so that he can help us understand who we need to target in our district and get the information to. So we do have volunteers. The different reform candidates are trying to recruit volunteers to make phone calls, send texts, emails, go door knocking. So, the more people we have out there just communicating, there's a primary, this is who's running, and it doesn't have to be overly complicated. Like I said, for people that just want to know in 30 seconds, what is the state central committee? It's the board of directors for the state party, the state Republican Party, and they are the ones that determine who gets the funding and who ends up on your ballot. The candidates end up on your ballot, and whether those candidates are going to look more bold red conservative or purple progressive, So I hope that answers your question about how you can help, just helping us educate people. Education is key here, and encouraging people to get out to vote.
Ms. Franz, where can a citizen go? Is there a website that you would offer for everyone that we can go to learn about the central committee processes for our state?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've got the Ohio Promise Keepers website, ohiopromisekeepers.com, and that's just going to show you, there's a slate card there of the reform candidates, the reforms we want to make in the Republican Party. These are all conservatives who are attempting to flip the state central committee, so in the August election. And there's also, my website is Ohio, it's on my business card. And then another great one is Mark's website, Grassroots Freedom Initiative.
Mark Makita's website?
Yes.
And his
then,
website is there?
I think it's, I'll get that to you guys,
Okay.
yeah. And the other one is John Morrow from Committee for a Better Ohio, also founder of Ohio Promise Keepers, is putting together classes for County Central Committee members. Like, he's doing videos, he has got example bylaws, he's got everything you would ever need as a County Central Committee member. So he is in the process of developing these classes, both in person and online. So entire County Central Committee groups, we're going to fight the good fight and let God determine the outcome. So,
one last thing
yes,
from me.
To learn together about what it should look like, what they should be doing in their county to affect
Do you have a
change.
chance to actually flip the central committee this time around, or is this going to be a long
We
and
do.
process? You do?
We do,
Wow.
yeah.
That
So
would be
God
wonderful.
willing, and only with God's help will that happen.